imprisoned? Really? You bet your butt we know how to take care of ourselves and our patients. I would rather trust a medication that has been FDA approved for the last 65 years. Proven safe. So much so that you can buy it over the counter in other countries. The only reason you can't buy it over the counter in this country is because malaria isn't a risk for us and there is no demand for it. You know who should be imprisoned? Dr. Fauci. Big tech, Facebook, Google, YouTube, throw them all in jail for silencing board-certified physicians with a different opinion. We all have our own opinion. Haven't you heard of getting a second opinion if you don't like the first one? I'll go with them. I'm going with those doctors. My medication's actually on my way to my house in case I ever do get sick. But you know, I have been taking care of COVID patients and I haven't been sick or got anyone else sick. Getting that medication just in case.
Welcome to the Statistical Giants. I'm your host, Jason Bainbridge, exclusively on Getter.com. And I'll be walking you through Clown World. Crazy world that we are living in, the COVID-19 world, the COVID-19 pandemic, the place in time where we give away our freedoms. We don't even go to work. We have to wear a mask. We have to shelter in place. We have to social distance from each other. We're all being monkeys, aren't we really, at the end of the day? But I tell you what, someone's gonna pay for all this mayhem. And we know that's gonna be that crazy gang, cabal, globalist group run by the elites. I don't know what the hell that was, but if you're as confused as me, welcome to the club. Everybody knows that you've got to be able to breathe. You can't be running around with a mask on. And I tell you what, look at what happened in 1916. Most people died of bacterial pneumonia. And all of the germs inside those masks are horrible. And Fauci even said, they don't even help. So why is he double masking? I don't know. Stanford University, what the hell are you doing? Now, let's find out what those cracker commies in Canada are up to. Apparently, there's no state of emergency.
Okay, so read the whole thing to me.
Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act, Ontario Regulation 26421, Declaration of Emergency. Note, this regulation was revoked on June 9th, 2021. And it says C0 Reg 42521, Section 1. Last Amendment 45421. Legislative history, it just says positive. And then it goes on 3 lines and then it's done. It says, whereas COVID-19 constitutes a danger of major proportions that could result in serious harm to persons. And whereas the criteria set out in subsection 7013 of the Act has been satisfied. Now therefore, an emergency is hereby declared pursuant to section 0701 of the Act in the whole of the province of Ontario.
Okay, so they're revoking the emergency as of June 9th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
They had put on.
Right.
We, like, just as a side note, in our challenges, we say that Section 70.1 of the Emergency Act was not met, and therefore they shouldn't have declared the emergency. But at any rate, they've revoked the declaration of the emergency. So now the question you're asking me, and people are asking, is so under what authority are they then maintaining these emergency orders, like lockdowns and,
and like what does it mean? What does it mean for Ontario people, the people of Ontario, and why are businesses still
Well, because I just said that these numbers and these, these maximum gatherings and all that are being provincially enacted under the false guise of the Reopening Ontario Act, right? And under Section 22 of the General Health Protection Act by public health officers. Got it? I say that you can't do it under those acts, but they're doing it.
And why do you think this was not announced? Like, why? This seems like a big deal, unless it's not.
Well, it's not announced because then people will ask questions like, well, if there's no emergency, why are you maintaining the emergency measures?
Exactly.
That's why. They don't want people to say, well, what the fuck is this?
Do you think this
and
has...
So they're figure skating around the rule of law. Sure.
Do you think this has anything to do with the recent lifting of restrictions in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and BC?
No, because they haven't lifted restrictions.
Well, all the mask mandates are all gone, and things in Alberta, and
but not here.
No, not here. But I mean, I know it's.
I don't know. They're supposed to make an announcement on the 19th, right? Yeah. But it takes them a whole month between announcements. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe they're going to lift the measures like they did in Alberta and Saskatchewan for the summer.
So Rocco, what does this mean for the people of Ontario? The fact that this declaration of emergency was revoked, in fact, on June 9th.
Well, what it means is logically there should be no emergency measures. Okay? But the government maintains they have General Health Protection Act measures, which I disagree with. Yeah. So you obey or don't or disobey at your own risk of getting ticketed. So
right.
To me, it's not logical that you cancel the emergency and still keep the measures.
Right. It doesn't make sense. So let me just make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So the Emergency Management and Civil Protection Act was basically the thing that was holding up the notion that there was a pandemic that needs emergency care and fast action in the first place.
Right. That's the statutory framework. Yeah.
Right. So now it also holding in place that the numerous restrictions that were placed on society to combat COVID, essentially, that it was holding that in place.
After the emergency was declared by cabinet. Yes, it's the only thing that holds those measures in place.
Right. And so since it's been revoked, it's probably safe to say that there's no more emergency?
Well, of course there's no emergency.
Okay,
but they maintain that they had an interim piece of legislation in there called the Reopening Ontario Act to relax the emergency measures, right?
Right.
Well, there's no emergency, there's no reason to relax, but they disappear. And then the local public health officers like, what's her name? Willa DeVille, whatever her name. Maintains, although I challenged her on this, and there was an opinion from the City of Toronto apparently that she said that they question her authority to make these measures under Section 22 of the Health Protection Act.
Of the Health Protection Act.
Yeah, which is a general act dealing with different scenarios. By definition, Health Protection Act doesn't deal with emergencies, otherwise you wouldn't need the Emergency Act.
So which comes first, the Emergency Act, then the health one, or was it health put in first and then emergency?
They're aimed at two different scenarios.
Right.
The Health Protection Act, if you have a localized outbreak, for instance, of poisoned water, she can invoke that. She can isolate the area. Or if there's a person who's got a viciously contagious disease, they can quarantine that person. It's not meant to apply across the province or across the municipality indiscriminately. Okay?
Got it. And now businesses and other things in society that are still adhering to these restrictive emergency measures, is that up to their discretion, or should we just wait till the announcement?
The government's the government has put forth, in the absence of the emergency counterfeit emergency provisions.
Yes.
If they don't abide by them, they can still get charged, but it makes no sense
Right. So anyone that's incurring fines, because there is a percentage of the population that is now aware and awakened to the fact that this has been revoked. So anyone that's getting fines or getting in trouble
can fight it on the basis it's not valid.
Gotcha. All right. Cool.
Okay.
Those were all the questions I had.
It's complicated shit.
Yeah.
Because the rulers are being fucking assholes.